Let's practice writing the rule. So, first example, Mary babysits for $5 per hour. After the word per is your independent variable. So, after per is hour. So the independent variable represents hours. So this X column, or excuse me, row represents hours. Dependent is going to be not $5, but the total cost. So the independent hours is represented here by X, and the dependent Y is represented by the total cost. Well, if Mary babysits for 0 hours, $0. But for 1 hour, $5. For 2 hours, $10. For 3 hours, $15. Now, to start writing the rule, you need this down here. Y equals the pattern times X plus whatever the start point is. The start point is when you start at 0. My X is 0, so what does the Y say? Whatever the Y is, that's what you write in the start point. Well, it was 0. So that's why I wrote 0. Now the pattern, how did I get from 0 to 5? From 5 to 10, from 10 to 15. You went up 5. So the pattern's 5. That makes your final result Y equals 5X, and that is the rule. You don't have to write the 0. Next question. I changed it from independent dependent to input output because the X is input, the output is Y. We still need the start point and the pattern. The start point is -1, so we write -1. Now we need to find the pattern. How do I find the pattern for this one? Well, let's move from -1 to 1. From 1 to 3, from 3 to 5, from 5 to 7. And when we do that, is it increasing or decreasing? It is increasing by 2. Now this one's a little difficult to see, but if you move from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, it is going up by 2. Therefore, your rule is going to be 2x plus a -1 or 2x minus 1. Remember, plus and negative is the same thing as minus. And of course, we put the y in front of it. So the final answer, y equals 2x minus 1. Problem 3. We're writing and determining the relationship. Before we do number 3, let me back up just, I think, two slides. Here. If this gets hard and you can't figure it out, just say this -1 plus something has to give me the other number. And what number is that? 2. So 1 plus what gives me 3? That would be 2. 3 plus what gives me 5? That would be 2. And maybe that'll help you find the pattern. One other thing. I put X values here and Y values instead of input and output. And that is because X values represent input, X values represent independent, Y values represent output, Y values represent dependent. And then when we looked at the final answer, the rule, I changed it again to domain and range because domain represents X values. And let me go ahead and change the color while we're on video so that you can really see what I'm talking about. And then range is going to be the dependent. Range, dependent, range, output, range, Y values. Domain is going to be your X. Domain is going to be X values. Domain is going to be independent, and domain is also input. So they all mean the same thing. So now back to number 3. Here it says f of x instead of y because f of x is another way of writing y. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, let's write the rule. So do you see the starting point? Of course. Very simple. It's 9. Now, do you see the pattern? If you said 3, you're very close. But it's not positive 3. It's negative 3 because it's going down. How did I get from 9 to 6? I went down 3. If you go up 3, you would be at 12. So on this one, we went down 3. Okay? And now, let's move on. I did show a few, another slide where I showed the work and circled this. So for those that need to see it, here's the work. That's how I got the starting point. Then I found the pattern, which was -3, -3, -3, -3. And again, that's how you get the answer. So let's go ahead and go to question 4. Okay, where's the starting point here? Good job, -1. Back to independent, dependent. And now let's find the pattern. Uh-oh, how do I go from negative all the way to positives? Does that mean I'm increasing or decreasing? Yes, I am increasing. And by how much am I increasing by? Good job, 1/2. That's exactly correct. So that's the final answer. Now we're going to move on to question 5. In this problem here, I've changed it back to input-output because we should know input is independent. It's the same as domain. It's the same as x and x values. But I noticed that in my input row, I'm missing numbers. Did you notice? Is 0 here? No, it's not. Do we need 0 for this? Yes, we do. Is 4 here? No, it's not. Do we need that? Yes, because we can't really see the pattern and we don't know where we're starting. So let's put those numbers in and figure out the pattern. Well, I've given you the answer and the pattern, but let's work through it because I want to make sure you really get it. So what happened? If this was 1 and I went back to 0 and I put in my 4, how did I get 10 and -2? Well, from 1 to 4, that's up 3. From 4 to 7, that's up 3. So if I go 3 more, I'm at 10. If I go 3 more, I'm at 13. Good. Well, what's the starting one? Okay, well, if I'm at 1, how do I go down 3 so I can get to my starting point? Negative, so 1 to 0, that's 1. To -1, that's 2. To -2, that's 3. Or if I start at -2 and I go up, will I end at 1? If I go up 3, let's see. -2 to -1, okay, that's 1. -1 to 0, that's 2. 0 to 1, that's 3. And so 3x plus -2 gives me my rule. -2 was the starting point we had to figure out. 3 was the pattern. From here to here to here to here to here. Okay, let's do number 26. Now this is going to take a little time and hopefully it doesn't take more than 10 minutes because I want to go through this quickly. Mike and Blake are having a party. They spent $30 on food and drinks, and they plan to charge everybody $5 at the door. So we need to write the rule and then complete this table. This is going to take a little work. What I want to first look at is the word spent. And if $30 was spent, that means I started off in the hole 30. And then in order to make some money and make that $30 back, I have to charge $5 an hour. So my starting point is -30 because I'm starting in the hole. And to charge everybody at the door $5 each, that's 5x. So 5x plus a -30 would be my rule. Again, spent 30, so you started in the hole, and everybody's going to pay $5 at the door, so 5x. Now, because that's my pattern, everybody paying 5. How do we fill this in? Okay, now this part takes a little practice. We will practice some of this in class when you come next time, and then we will continue this part, the class after. So we take the rule and we plug in the domain values. These are the input. Remember, let me go ahead and highlight that again and make it red so that you can understand what I'm talking about. And the range values are green, and here they're green. Okay? So the domain values need to go in the X spot. Then we do the math and out comes the range, for instance. To evaluate this function, plug in the X values to get the Y values. So we needed to plug in 0, and then that's 0 minus 30. That would just give you negative 30. But let's look at 6 because that one's a little easier. If we plug in 6, 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 30 is 0. If you plugged in 10, 50. 50 minus 30 is 20. So your table now changes to negative 30. Remember, because we put 0 right here. 5 times 0 is 0. Plus negative 30, it's negative 30 in the range. And then 0, we just got 0. Let me go back so you can see it. When we plugged in 6, we got 0. When we plugged in 10, we got 20. So, can you tell me what 20 would be? Bring your answer to class and have that on your homework. If you get it correct, you'll get some extra points.